are just digging into our newest challenge, which is a 3-day fast, followed by, on the 4th day, a race to 1,000 burpees. We haven't put these two things together before. We haven't done 1,000 burpees before, so it should be quite entertaining.
I am not looking forward to those burpees at all. I mean, I don't like them, even though I do them. I don't like them. And man, racing you as well, I don't like that. You know, I'd much prefer it when we've got like 12 hours, and so I can tend to make like I think I put it on the post about this the other day. It's like my tortoise self can kind of like, I can just keep on trying. You sprint and you sprint and you sprint, and you're like this racing ahead. But my tortoise self has managed to overtake you in previous challenges, right? I think was where my advantage has been, is my ability to just keep going slowly, but over a long period of time.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I mean, with the press up challenge, I think I would have been ahead, I believe.
Oh, massively ahead.
I broke ground quite quickly, and then I just couldn't anymore. It was so slow at that point. So yeah, we want this challenge to be something that changes who we are, really. And you know, for me, I suppose it is. I mean, it's 1,000 burpees that we've never done before, which is one small thing of changing who we are and bringing ourselves to a new activity. But there's so much more as well.
Yeah, I mean, the burpees doesn't really matter, right? We chose it why? Because we don't like it, and because it's different to the things we've done before, right? And it uses all of our body. And it just seemed like a thing we would not want to be doing after not eating for 3 days, right? Because we're barely having anything, right? It's like basically water. I know you're having a few extra things, but not much extra. So 3 days of deficit, of calorie deficit in the body, no fuel really being put in. And then on day 4, we are doing something we hate. And not only that, we've got a race to see if we can, how fast we can do it. Because that's also what I do in my daily practice with burpees, is I do them slowly. You know, I allow my body to just, you know, to keep, because I want to do it every single day, so I'm not really pushing it. So this is going to be a real test, you know, and it is one that, you know, that you could have the advantage on, depending on if you can keep that speed up right to the end.
Yeah, I mean, we measured our speed to start with already. That I really, I was like
massively faster than me right now.
Yeah, I mean, I did 100 burpees in 10 minutes just on the dot, which was amazing achievement. I was fully fueled, and I felt, you know, dizziness and like, oh, I really can't push on around the 70 mark. Imagine, you know, 930 more of those with no fuel, nothing. I mean, yeah, you said I'm having a little bit extra. So yesterday I did have some coffee, but I'm taking that out now after we spoke about it.
Cool.
And then just juice if I need to do with my diabetes, like if my blood sugar goes really low, and that's the only way to bring it up. But so far that hasn't happened at all. I've been able to sit with the fact that I'm not feeling good, and that's just, it's been amazing actually, because I want that to be something that I learn from this I was going to say challenge. It is a project, I suppose, but like diving in deep into something that I care about, which is my diabetes, and understanding how I can feel more in control of it. You know, going 3 days without food, and only when I really need to have something, and challenging that as well. That's going to change me, and I'm excited about that. Because one thing that's happened to me in the past is like this panic. Oh, I feel low, I need to do something about it, instead of, maybe I don't need to do anything about it. Maybe my body could reset itself, or there's other ways of dealing with a problem. So I'm going to dig into that, which is pretty exciting. And I already feel good about it. One day in, this time where I had done a practice fast before, I was having a lot of juice already at this point, so it feels good.
No, that's really good. And of course, like what we said earlier, actually, with regards to that, because we're exercising every day, you're going to be breaking down muscle tissue, which will turn into glucose. You know, so your blood sugar your sugar is pumped into your blood anyway, right? So for you to understand those mechanisms and to be able to use them well, yeah, that's going to give you a good leap anyway towards being in greater control and influence over your diabetes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what parts of the challenge are you looking forward to the most?
Well, just like this challenge has got nothing to do, very little to do with fasting, right? And very little to do with burpees. So the fasting part of it, just that aspect, for me, it's like a better connection with what I feel in my body. Because I've had that, when I have these kind of fasts, which I haven't done for a while, but I'm just more aware of my body, right? It becomes more alive. Also, like more connected to the food I put in afterwards. So the fasting aspect of it, I know my taste buds are going to be sharper. The nutrition from the food is going to be more absorbed better, afterwards. As long as I don't just mess up and just go and eat a load of rubbish, as long as we do it properly afterwards, and that I'm going to get those benefits. But far beyond all of that, it's the simulated but simulated survival response. It's like we are by deliberately starving, because it's not starving, actually, it's fasting. It doesn't go to starvation till much later, but by fasting, which triggers a threat response in my body, I know it's going to be doing things inside. So there's studies done to show that it actually can rebuild immune systems, for instance, like strip it out, the old and make it far more effective than it's ever been. So I want to see if that can happen. It also cleans out the body from the inside out, right? So it gets rid of the cells that aren't good, because you have to use them for energy. So it's autophagy, I think it's called. So I'm looking at the cleanliness side, right? The internal cleanliness. So I like that side of it. But far more than any of that, really, it is my ability to endure. It's like I've got nothing. Like come Sunday morning, right? I'm going to have nothing in the tank, and so I need to perform. I'm going to need to do as best I can, get to 1,000. I don't know if I can do it faster than you. And that's only, to be honest with you, that's me against you thing is tiny. I don't really care about that side of things, really. If I'm honest, it's not really a driver. Doing it with you, that's a driver. I love that we're doing this together. So for me, just getting to 1,000 after a 3-day fast, well, that's going to be something I've never done. I've never physically pushed my body when it's at such a deficit before. I've no idea what my reactions will be. It was new territory, so that's one of the things that I'm really, looking forward to with this experience. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, that new territory definitely stands out. The fact of pushing past, pushing past these responses that are telling me no, and just going with it anyway, right? Knowing that I have a challenge to overcome. My body might be at a deficit, but I can keep enduring that pain. I don't think anything really bad is going to happen. I think amazing things are going to happen. And yeah, overcoming a deficit that I've never really experienced before, pushing through the pain of it. And yeah, I mean, the speed challenge is awesome as well. Seeing how quickly I can overcome those struggles. I think, yeah, it's really important that we do this to actually unlock something in ourselves that allows us to endure serious pain and places that we've never been before, breaking through like kind of self-imposed barriers. Whereas for me, I mean, really, I wouldn't exercise much at all if I felt low. My blood sugar was low. So this is completely new. This means that I could apply myself to exercise, physical activities, or other things of endurance on a much more day-to-day basis as a result.
Yeah. And what else does it mean to you personally?
It means like I just know that I can become more in this space. Personally, it is really just overcoming barriers that are there that are self-imposed that have come up an awful lot. I mean, the connecting to the diabetes thing is super important. The connecting to fighting through that, connecting to what that actually is, understanding during that process how much control I have over something I've been diagnosed with. Getting to terms with that is really important. And just taking it to such an extent that I really believe that I have control over it, that I know that I can bring my attention to it, that I'm safe to do so, that I can get experimental and play around a bit more with these things.
Why is it important to you?
Because I've never connected to it before, really. I've never connected to making, well, one thing actually, yeah, is my diet. My diet has always not been good. My diet.
Okay, man. Let's go beyond that, because we're talking. You're pushing us back up to the surface, man. Come on, man. It's not about your diet. What is it really about?
Well, you know, I was going to say that the diet is like a self-protective thing. So maybe not the diet, but I will go towards having food a lot of the time when stuff gets hard, things get frustrating. That will be a trigger response, like, oh man, this work is not fun right now. I don't want to be doing this. So I'll find myself downstairs eating loads of food, protecting myself. If my blood sugar drops really low, you know, I don't even make the right decisions. I just keep filling my body with sugars to an extent that they don't need to be filled with.
Which is, when you think about that, diabetes is like, don't have much sugar, right? It's like it's a thing, because it can clog up your body and create serious problems. And yet you've flipped that in your protection, and you've been eating way too much sugar. Like, if you used what diabetes is and done the opposite to it, which is the opposite of actual protection, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I haven't really used the things that are important about diabetes. I've just used the sort of escapes of it.
So what it really is emotional protection of the eating, as opposed to actual protection, which is not eating that stuff, right? It's the opposite. What would really protect you compared to what you've been doing that protected you emotionally, or protected you from feeling your emotions.
Yeah, I mean, that does happen quite regularly, where I feel like my body is at a deficit, which it will be now for a while. My body feels at a deficit, so I just load it up with sugar. So I'm going to come to terms with the fact that I don't need to kind of participate in those activities anymore, after really bringing my body to a deficit and really straining my body as well, instead of protecting my emotions. I'm going to do the things that actually allow it to grow, my body and my emotional responses.
Yeah, there's probably, with regards to the eating your emotions thing, it's a thing. It's a famous phrase, right? A catchphrase. And so it's there's probably be other work to be done, but this will help you at least connect to what you need to do physically. So it's definitely an important leap in that experience. Because also, like, part of the problem, as we discussed before, was you didn't really look into what diabetes actually is, right? And how, even though you've had it since you were like 8 years old, you didn't engage with it and really understand it, so you could become, say, master it, but that's probably a bit too big a word, but essentially at least make it work with you, as opposed to working against yourself, because you didn't understand it, and because of whatever's going on in your life as you've grown up. Those things have come together, which means you've had this poor relationship with with diabetes, really, right? Which is this thing that's a big part of your life that you can't get away from. You know?
Yeah, I think it will expose some things in this place that need to be worked on more. But this will be just a good place to expose those areas that I need to bring my attention to. It will expose my relationship to my diabetes. And yeah, more work can be done afterwards for sure. It won't be like I do this and I understand completely everything, but it will be the activities that expose where my weaknesses are or how my relationship is with my diabetes, which will be important. And then it will be bringing me into that space of mastering it more, bringing my attention to it, which I don't really want to do that much.
Why not?
I mean, well, I haven't wanted to do that much because it's hard to come to terms with.
Like, what is hard?
The thing that's hard to come to terms with the most, I believe, is the permanence of diabetes. The fact that, you know, there is no real way out of this. I just need to learn about it more. That's the tough thing. Is like it's so much easier to pretend it doesn't exist, to get involved in those activities that we spoke about, the ones that are just eating lots of sugary foods, protecting myself in that way, injecting lots of insulin. It's easy. It's easier to fall into that rather than to accept that it's a permanent thing every day. That's kind of hard to accept for me. It's hard to bring myself to accepting all of the serious implications that diabetes could have on my life as well. That's pretty tough. That it could affect me in physical activities like the day-to-day, right? I think that was one more so growing up. Like, oh, I might not be able to participate in so many sports now or do activities with my friends because of the fear of being low or just the fear of being diabetic, I suppose. So yeah, that's what's tough to bring myself to terms with.
Yeah, it's. I think this is important because so many times when we're scared of something, we don't actually look into it enough. Because the reality is, if you'd have looked into it deeply, understood it well, and looked at, you'd see people that like elite athletes who have got type 1 diabetes, who've won multiple gold medals. You know, so it's not. So there are people who have had it all their life and have been able to do extraordinary things physically. They've just learned how to use it, right? How to work with it. And so the fear of what it could mean meant you didn't find out what it actually meant, and then you didn't do the real protection work to actually work in a way that means your body can thrive, because you may get none of those consequences. But the best way you're not going to get any of those consequences is by understanding it and then working with your body, right? That's the best protection for that you can do.
Yes, it is that process of working with my body, really, that I haven't been doing. So this is going to be a big challenge for that. This is going to be why this is important. Yeah, this is going to expose some stuff. And it's going to bring my attention. It's going to force me to bring my attention to these areas, which is another reason why it sucks, but it needs to be done, right? And that's where all the growth from this is going to happen. So it'll be good.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is what we all experience. Most of us experience in some way. Anyone who eats more than they need, who eats processed foods, right? The reality is we are not working with our bodies. Our bodies do not like that stuff. It doesn't even recognize most of the foods that that you buy in packets as food. It actually sees it as a threat, and it creates an immune reaction. Actually, is to food when it comes in. It's like, hey, what the hell is this? And so this is what you just got, something that means you have to be far more consciously aware because you have an immediate reaction. to it, right? You have a more immediate reaction to it with regards to the relationship to your sugar. But actually what you're talking about is what most people who will ever watch this or that we speak to will do in some way. They'll be doing some things like if we don't sleep well enough, if we're not getting enough hydration, if we're not really giving our body, we're not working with our bodies, there's normally some reasons why. There's something off in our relationship to life itself. It's always more than just the food, more than just the sleep, more than just the hydration or whatever, right? So yeah, doing something like a fast is a very important part of how we can bring greater awareness to what our bodies actually need. And also like Arti, hello. So yeah, we I totally threw me off there seeing you, but it's nice to see you here. Oh yeah, so looking into like the benefits of fasting, I've been looking up, there are people that do water fast for 70 days, 70 days. Now that's normally done with some medical attention to make sure that they have the right nutrients, and it's often to correct something like an autoimmune illness and improve their relationship to some serious disease. But there's a reality of they're still doing that, and they might give them certain electrolytes and they measure things, but the reality is they're still doing a water fast for that period of time. So and I know people who do dry fasts for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, that have done that because the body has a way of producing its own water from within, actually, when it does that. Not to be done for people who aren't advanced at fasting, though, because it's dangerous. Fasting done without care and attention can be damaging, even life-threatening. It can be. But what we're doing is not that. What we're doing is a 3-day basic fast. Our bodies are filled with fuel, like way too much food we would have been eating, right, in the days up to it, because we normally eat too much, being that we live where we live, and we're not really attentive to the finer needs, which means we're going to be fine. And then we're going to challenge ourselves on that last day. It's going to be horrific for us probably at times, but afterwards we will meet ourselves, right? Especially during those burpees. Somewhere in that 1,000, we are going to meet ourselves, and we are not going to like what we meet. We're going to want to stop. We're going to want to pull back. We're going to want to protect. We're going to want to whatever it is we want to do. And it's the going through that will be part of what it will change us in some way. It will create the seed of change, at least, that we can then build into. So I feel great about this, and doing this with you feels superb. And like I think I shared this with you on an audio yesterday as to I was watching a movie last night with my mum called The Day After Tomorrow, and it's an apocalyptic movie where the weather changes and essentially a new ice age is being ushered in, and it's about what happens. Now I've loved that movie actually over the years, but watching it last night, I just connected even more to there are these moments when people sacrifice themselves. They chose to die, or they chose to risk death for the sake of someone else. And this happened multiple times in these moments, right? When we're talking life or death, seconds away from you could die, but doing the right thing is more important. And just watching that, and it's like, how do I make sure that I can always do what's right, even when my survival is threatened, and I've got that deep need to survive being triggered within me that might have me be selfish? How can I fortify myself to be able to ensure that if needed, I could make the right decision in those moments? Well, it isn't good. I can't just hope, right? Let's just hope I can live a gentle life where I'm just going through my day, hoping that when it matters, I'll be able to do what counts. That isn't going to work, is it? That we're always training ourselves for the future. And so it's like, well, how can I prepare myself to be able to make the right decision for the right reasons in a moment when doing what's right for me is what my survival is going to want? How can I make sure that I'm able to transcend, or at least prepare myself as best I can to be able to transcend that? And that is this kind of thing. It is doing things on a daily basis that are uncomfortable. It is doing things weekly. It is challenging. It is growing. It is really finding out what my body is capable of. And more than that, like what my spirit is capable of whilst my body is being deeply challenged. And this is one part of that, right? Our challenges are going to get increasingly tough, aren't they? As time goes on, we're going to have to, because otherwise they're not really going to be challenges. So for me, what this is me training myself to be able to do what's right when I need in those really tough moments that who knows when they will come up, but they will at some point. You know, I want to be able to make the right decision in those moments. And so that's what I'm doing here. Yeah, that's what it means to me.
Yeah, it's our long discomfort hold, right? It's a longer, more intense discomfort hold, which is actually quite cool, because once we finish this long discomfort hold, as you said, this is just one way of us doing it. After this, you're going to be hosting more discomfort holds online as well, which will be awesome.
Yeah, it starts Monday, of course. Yeah, I didn't quite realize the timings of that, because I'm that's gonna be one of the worst days for me to start it, right? After the fast and the burpees. I don't know how. I mean, maybe like I'll hold for 5 seconds. Who knows what I'll be able to do? But yeah, it's starting on the Monday exactly, and it's an opportunity, right? Because every day is an opportunity. We get to meet ourselves and our limitations and our fears of what our limitations are, and we get to just challenge them, you know, every single day. Now, you know, you and I have been doing this for a couple of months now, right? So as you know, some days we have been like transcendent, right? We've been like, whoa, I did not know that was possible, because we've held through the discomfort, right? We've taken those extra breaths, those extra steps, and we've gone further. And those days have been amazing. But then other days, it's just been like a little bit more, right? It's been like, it's like, this really hurts. I'm going to keep going. And we just stop. And then after we've stopped, we're like, I know I could have gone further, right? You've had that, right? There's that moment. At the time, it feels so compelling. But then when we've stopped, there's like a split second of stopping and then realization of, I had more in me.
Yeah, I mean, that's happened every time, even when it's been transcendent.
That's true.
It's been every single time.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you feel better about it when it's, you know, you've gone to a really, when you've held it for a really long amount of time. But yeah, afterwards, there's always more to give. And I think, yeah, we're just playing around with that. I mean, it's the progress that has been made in that area is crazy as well. So yeah, it's just the daily attention to these things. And I think that will happen again after this, these fasts, this fast and the burpees as well. There'll be attention that we can bring every day to stuff as well, which will be really cool. It will open up something new.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the reality is, you know, people are operating, all of us, at such a tiny fraction of what we can do, the tiniest of fractions. And you know, the more we grow and change and evolve, the more we realize there's so much more in there. And it's like, well, you know, you and I committed, didn't we, to this year to support each other and actually keep going, because to stop stopping, right? To have these conversations, to have the challenges, to support each other with our daily practices, to ensure that we do keep expanding and growing without stopping happening, you know, without that going on. Because this is foundational, right? This year we'll begin that and create that consistency, the 365 days in a row, you know, that we're doing together. But this will just be the beginning. You know, it's like the rest of our lives in some way we'll be building from that, which means we'll get to extract far more out of ourselves. And so, you know, it's like, yeah, it's just very interesting, you know, when people, you know, sharing people about this. You know, I had one reaction, like it was I think half joking, but it was like, well, you know, why are you going to put, you know, what is it, weakened system? Why are you going to challenge yourself on a weakened system? You're trying to kill yourself, right? I think it's just like kind of a joke, but also a question. And it's like, for me, it's like, that's the problem, that you would have that question even there, that it would seem like it's a terrible thing to just not eat for 3 days and then to do something like that, because it's so small compared to what some people go through. You know, when they're in real survival situations, you know, we'll watch that documentary where there was this, these friends, 4 friends were kidnapped and they were taken hostage for like 6 days, walked around this desert area, barely any food, barely any water, for 6 days. And then on the 6th day, they got away and they ran 4 miles to an army base where they got rescued. Now they ran for 4 miles after 6 days, essentially of a fast like we're doing here, and dehydrated as well. And they were able to do that, and they didn't have any lasting physical effects, right? Emotional effects, yes, because it's traumatic, but physical, they didn't. And so it's like that's the kind of stuff that is in there already that's we're capable of. Let's connect deeper to that by challenging ourselves far beyond what we've done before.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff it's inside us already.
Yeah.
And like that has been really clear in those discomfort holds, going back to that, where it's a crazy idea to start with, oh, I could hold this a discomfort hold for 10 minutes, and then I end up doing 12. Like it's always in there, and this is an opportunity to really just bring it out, because we don't come faced with those challenges on the day-to-day basis. So it's not really that strange. We just are allowing it in. We're just allowing that challenge in.
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah, and we're just the beginning of this, man. So I guess that's a good time today to bring this to a close, right? Yeah. So next time, we can't go live actually on Sunday, can we? Because you've got your mum's birthday and stuff. So
we'll work that out. We'll work it out.
Yeah.
We'll work it out how we'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if we can't, we could do it another time. But the main thing is that you and I will have the challenge, and so whatever happens, whoever does it faster, will both grow as humans, as part of it. And obviously we'll talk about it and share it with each other anyway. Glad to be doing this with you.
Yeah, glad to be doing this with you as well. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see everyone else.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, RT.